What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Mega Alakazam-EX from Fates Collide. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It really does help us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, you might notice that I am running Team Magma's Secret Base in this deck, and really that was a card that got little to no love at first. I mean, it came out in Double Crisis and everybody was like, it's okay. Really, it only works in decks that rely on Team Magma's Pokemon and is like just decent at best otherwise. But it really has gotten a ton of love lately thanks to the Gyarados deck, and even this deck to a lesser extent, but mainly the Gyarados deck, which in itself shot Team Magma's Secret Base, I think, all the way up to $15 a piece at one point. I'm not sure on the exact price, but I know that it just went from like a completely forgotten about card, written off as useless, to all of a sudden everybody wants it. It's a super, super expensive card. It was worth about like twice or three times as much as the EXs in that set. I mean, that was just how crazy everybody went for Team Magma's Secret Base. And I mean, for good reason. It is very, very, very good in that Gyarados deck, and that Gyarados deck is a rogue deck that can finish very well, but also can perform at the top level of competitive play. So it's a deck that was relatively easy to get all the cards for. Granted, the Shaymins were a little bit expensive, but you can't run a top tier deck without Shaymin. In all honesty, like Greninja I think is the closest, and that thing has just been hit harder and harder recently, particularly with the promo Giratina just shutting off all breaks abilities. And I know that that's not going to be running everything, but regardless, this Magma Secret Base got a lot of love because out of nowhere, it just went from completely written off to coming out of nowhere. And my question is, what stadium do you guys want to see have that happen to him? What stadium are people kind of writing off, not really using in all of a sudden, and what do you want to see all of a sudden like rise to prominence, be a card that everybody goes from I don't want it to, oh, I gotta have it? Honestly, if you had to ask me, I would say Chaos Tower. I think that is such a cool card. I mean, if you look at that design, that is a really, really awesome design card. It's just unfortunately like confused, poisoned, and then this guy can't be asleep or paralyzed. It has some value, but unfortunately like stand-in and switch just completely nullify what it's used for. I mean, yeah, it can be used with like Mega Slowbro and stuff like that, but really I think it's a very, I don't know, I don't see it having a lot of potential. I just think the design is so cool that I want to see it get some more love. So yeah, what stadium do you guys want to see get more love and why? Leave that in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But anyway, like I said, deck centered around Mega Alakazam-EX. I have done this deck before. I did it with Bats, but unfortunately, Bats got rotated out except for like Zubat, Golbat, but if you don't have Crobat, it's not really worth that much in this deck. However, in Steam Siege, Hoopa came out, and Hoopa is great for this deck. Hyperspace Punch. This attack does 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Doesn't seem that great, but for a single energy, you can just start spamming that, spreading damage around to where Zen Force can just come in with huge knockouts. I mean, all you have to do is just Hyperspace Punch something twice, and then all of a sudden, Mega Alakazam is able to take the knockout on 170 HP EXs. So, especially in combination with things like Kinesis and Magma Secret Base, Mega Alakazam can potentially make a little bit of a comeback. It's a very cool card that I think a lot of people are overlooking right now, and it has some potential. I don't think it's top tier by any means at all. I just think it's a very cool card that a lot of people are overlooking. For the rest of the Pokemon, running 3 Shaymin for draw support, 4-3 of Alakazam and Mega Alakazam. And the reason I'm running 4 Alakazams is because Kinesis is also incredibly crucial to this strategy. When you play Mega Alakazam from your hand to evolve this Pokemon before it evolves, you may put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon and 3 counters on one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So really, combination with Hoopa's Hyperspace Punch, Alakazam's Kinesis, just by evolving you put damage counters on the board, and then Magma Secret Base putting 2 on them when they come into play. Like, these 3 can just spread enough damage quickly to where Mega Alakazam can come in and just start cleaning things up. I mean, with 5 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, Mega Alakazam can knock them out up to 210 HP, and that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, that's phenomenal, and Mega Mewtwo has a really, really tough time with this guy because you only have 2 energy on Mega Alakazam, and Mega Alakazam hits for weakness on Mega Mewtwo, so really this has a matchup against one of the top decks in the game, which I think is really awesome. 3 Hoopa, you want to be starting with Hoopa. You can even attack a little bit more with Hoopa. If your first Hoopa gets knocked out and you decide that you really want to get more damage spread out. So Hoopa is the starter and the attacker early on in this deck, especially with that 1 energy hyperspace punch that is so great for spreading around damage. 2 of the Hoopa-EXs, and you might be thinking, wait, why the heck are you running 2 Hoopa-EXs? And to be honest, no, I do know. I was going to say, to be honest, I don't know. But I do know that is because you want to get a bunch of Alakazams down early. And if a Hoopa is prized, you're in a very bad position. So Hoopa is able to get you a bunch of Alakazams down early. That way, with combinations of Devolution Spray and Alakazam, you can use Kinesis to just repeatedly get damage on your opponent while attacking with Hoopa. This deck spreads damage around very quickly, and it can stack up to where 1 Mega Alakazam just comes in and just blows through your opponent's entire board. Like, they will have no real response because the Mega Alakazam can just take knockout after knockout, and even though it's only 210 HP, it's still it's still very bulky. I mean, 210 HP is not knocked out easily, and when you're taking knockouts every single turn on EXs, your opponent's going to be hard-pressed to be able to come back against Mega Alakazam. Running 3 copies of the Devolution Spray just because we want to Kinesis as much as possible. And if you're attacking with Hoopa, you can evolve a Alakazam, play the Devolution Spray on it, attack with Hoopa, and then next turn you can just play that Mega Alakazam back down again, get even more Kinesis damage, which is essential for Zen Force to do the absolute max damage that it can possibly do. Because, I mean, 10 is horrible, plus 30 for each damage counter. That's cool. I mean, that's a good attack, but you have to have a pretty good amount of damage on your opponent's Pokemon to begin with. I mean, I guess not that good. You only need like 4 to 5 damage counters depending on the Pokemon, but you do still need to get that 4 to 5, and then Kinesis plus Hyperspace Punch gets that very quickly. 1-1 of Escape Rope and Switch just to make sure we are able to get a Hoopa active immediately and start attacking with that. 3 Mega Turbo to power up a Mega Alakazam in 1 turn. 1 Super Rod to get our stuff back if we have to discard a bunch of Alakazams because we can't draw Spirit Links or something like that. Super Rod gets them back in the deck. 4 Trainers Mail to help with consistency. 4 Ultra Ball to get everything out. 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. And as for the supporters, you have my typical 4-2 line of Sycamore and N, as well as 2 Lysandre, which I've been leaning towards more, and especially in this deck, you want to Lysandre like crazy to get to the Pokemon that have the proper amount of damage on them to be able to be knocked out. Running 1 Hex Maniac to kind of slow down my opponent if they start getting up fast. I mean, you want to play it after you've done all your Kinesises, obviously, but Hex Maniac really helps in a lot of situations, especially with Safeguard Pokemon, looking at you, Carbink, and then 1 Pokemon Ranger, because, again, I'm paranoid about Glaceon, and, yeah, if Glaceon starts attacking, Hoopa cannot realistically be expected to knock it out, so you need some way of attacking with it. Running 2 of the Team Magma Secret Base, only 2 because it's not super essential, but it is really, really nice to get a couple damage counters on my opponent's Pokemon as soon as they play it down. I mean, that just makes this deck work so much better and allows Alakazam to hit for the magic numbers so much quicker. Magma Secret Base, such a good card in this meta, throws a lot of things off. 4 Alakazam Spirit Links for our 4 Alakazams. I know usually I only run as many Spirit Links as we have Megas, but in this deck you want to be able to evolve every single one of the Alakazams you can, because you'll probably just be playing it down for the Kinesis and then Devolution Spraying. So, like, chaining Kinesises in 1 turn with Devolution Spray is very great and is why you want to run so many Spirit Links. And then 8 Psychic Energy, so that we have the energy we need to attack when we need it. So yeah, that is a deck, very, very straightforward, and it's really cool when you see it in action, so you know what, I'm going to quit rambling and go ahead and see this deck. Alrighty, we have found one against Kingsa89, or Kingsa89. I'm just going to say it that way, even though it's probably Kingsa, or Kin GSA. Either way, we go first, and yes, I would like to go first. You can't really attack with this. Well, I mean, I guess with Hoopa you can technically attack turn 2, but let's be real, you want to go first. And I'm going to play one Alakazam down just because I will go first, and oh boy, this is a Garchomp deck, so this could be interesting if I'm not able to rack up enough damage here and there to take one-shots, because Garchomp can one-shot my Alakazams, and that will be a problem. I'm just going to go ahead and play the other Alakazam down, get the Alakazam Spirit Link, and I have nothing else to do. So let's go ahead and draw into some decent stuff. That's not bad. That's actually really not bad. So let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of an Energy and the Lysandre to probably grab... Let's grab a Hoopa. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I can Hoopa for a Shaymin, an Alakazam, and a Mega Alakazam, so that I have that for next turn. So let's go ahead and grab Alakazam, Mega Alakazam, and my Shaymin to play those suckers down. Alakazam, just because, I mean, I've already played my supporter for this turn, so I don't have to worry about discarding it or putting it back in the deck or it being a bad search. I mean, I just will draw one less card with Shaymin, but it really doesn't matter, because, I mean, it's one of the cards I would have wanted anyway. And then let's... do I want to grab the Ultra Ball? Yeah, sure, why the heck not? Let's go ahead and do that, and then end my turn right there. So I'm in a very, very solid position, I think. I mean, I have an Alakazam for next turn. I have the Devolution Spray. If I can somehow get, like, another Alakazam Spirit Link, what I think I'm going to do is evolve into a Mega Alakazam, devolve it, and then N. Just cuz. An N just cuz. Let's see, my opponent plays Remoraid, and a Shaymin, so that's a definite target for some Kinesis and Hyperspace Hole shenanigans. Let's see, what do I have in my discard? That's fine. My obvious target is going to be the Gibbles. If I can knock those guys out, my opponent has absolutely no way of beating me, so I'm just going to take out these Gibbles as quickly as possible. And if I can get 2 Mega Alakazams this turn, I will be able to do that. So let's go ahead and... Mega, yes, I would like to get some damage onto my opponent's Pokemon, so let's go ahead and get the 30 onto the Gibble on the bench. Mega Turbo onto my Mega Alakazam, and then, you know, I could devolve it, but I think my best play at this point is to just go ahead and N. I mean, it gives my opponent a fresh hand, but this way, well, even so, I draw right back into my Devolution Spray, and I will be able to knock out both Gibble this turn, thanks to my Mega Alakazam with Kinesis, and then a Hyperspace Hole, or no, Hyperspace Punch. I'm sorry, Hyperspace Hole is Hoopa's video game attack, and that's Hyperspace Fury. But either way, gonna be able to take a knockout with Kinesis from Mega Alakazam, even get another Mega Alakazam for next turn, and then what I can do, obviously, yeah, I can't Mega Evolve. Let's just go ahead and Hyperspace Punch, knock out the Gibble, and then start getting some damage on the Shaymin so that I can eventually Kinesis knock it out, and look at that, turn 2, already able to take 2 prizes just because of Kinesis and then Hyperspace Punch. And yeah, that's just the power of Mega Alakazam. My opponent sees that he can't beat me, so he just forfeits. And to be fair, don't really blame him. I already have a Mega Alakazam, well, not necessarily ready to go, but I have a Mega Alakazam on the bench. I have another Alakazam with a Spirit Link and a Mega Alakazam in my hand, and then Hoopa would just be able to spread damage like crazy. So sometimes you're even able to beat non-EX decks without even really attacking with Mega Alakazam. So as a perfect example of that, but too short, let's just go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found one against Steve 7 with a normal and psychic deck. So if this was a mirror match, that would be really, really cool. But I don't know. I don't think so, because Mega Alakazam is a very weird deck to run into and is just kind of an out there deck. We do get to go first, so we will get to see what my opponent is running. And I start off with some stuff. If I can get an Ultra Ball, then that would be phenomenal, because I could Ultra Ball away the Sycamore and the Lysandre to get 2 Alakazams and go from there. But unfortunately, I do not. That stinks a lot. This is a really crappy starting hand. Wow. But clearly we are against a Pidgeot EX or a Mega Pidgeot deck, so that's gonna be kind of interesting. I'm curious about the matchup, and I'm not even gonna play the I'm not even going to play the Magma Secret Base down just because that would be so detrimental at this point because I will be playing a lot of Pokemon down. And I did have to get rid of 2 Spirit Links, and yeah, that was very, very painful. I am just going to Ultra Ball for a Hoopa, get a couple Alakazams and a Shaymin. I have the Mega Alakazam in my hand for next turn to evolve, and yeah. So let's go ahead and grab those guys and play them down and go from there. I'm curious I want to get my last Spirit Link with the Shaymin. That would be phenomenal for me if I could get that, because then I would be able to do combinations with like Kinesis and stuff like that, and I don't. I do get a Devolution Spray, so the question is, do I want to grab that? No, I think for now I'm just going to grab the Hex Maniac and then end my turn right there, because what I can always do is just draw into the Devolution Spray with a Sycamore next turn, and that way I at least have the Mega Alakazam on board so I can get that back in my hand when I refresh it with whatever supporter I decide to go for. And yeah, so decent start. Hated getting rid of those Spirit Links, and yeah, that was very, very painful, meaning I only have 2 for the rest of the match, and I'm going to have to make those guys go the distance, meaning I'll probably only have 2 Mega Alakazams that are going to be attacking, and that was painful. Kind of wish... Okay, my opponent does Lysandre in my Hoopa. Not a big deal. That is why I decided to keep the Switch. Well, not really decided to keep the Switch. I drew into it, so I'm... You know what? I'm just going to say I decided to keep it. I'm going to make it sound like I am a top-tier player, and we're just going to go from there. My opponent Shaymin's into nothing, so that is really nice for me. What I can do is... how do I want to play this? So I think the play is to get a Sycamore, or do I want to Lysandre in the Shaymin? Because I could take a prize this turn. Actually, you know what? I think that's... Yeah, I think I want to Lysandre in the Shaymin just so I can start spreading some damage onto it, switch into the Hoopa, and admittedly I could have gotten a knockout on the Shaymin. Like, I could have gotten a knockout on the Shaymin this turn. I could have taken 2 prizes, but I think my best play is to just start spreading damage around to my opponent. Just keep the Shaymin in as something that my opponent really can't do much with. Keep my opponent from being able to attack and go from there. So we'll be able to get damage onto the Shaymin, more damage onto the Pidgeot. That Pidgeot is in range of getting knocked out. And, my opponent's running Fairy Drop. Oh, no. Oh, crap. Oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be very, very bad. So, darn it. That's frustrating because, I mean, it's just like, well, what am I going to do now? Because my opponent, because Fairy Drop is like, I mean, you know what? This is a counter deck. I'm calling hacks. I'm saying my opponent knew what he was going to be facing immediately, because Fairy Drop really just screws me up horribly. Because this deck is pretty much entirely centered around being able to just have little bits of damage here and there and kind of working from that point on. So Fairy Drop, just getting rid of all the damage that I spread, is going to hurt me tremendously. Yeah, what do I want to grab? Yeah, let's go ahead and grab the Sycamore. What I think I'm going to do, go ahead and devolve my Alakazam that's on the bench. And do I want to... I could end my turn by evolving, but... Actually, you know what? I think I should have done that. I think I should have ended my turn by Mega Evolving my Alakazam without the Spirit Link to get just a little bit more damage out there. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want my opponent to try to waste a Fairy Drop on Shaymin. But, okay, top decks only must have... Yeah, they clearly had to have top decked the Ultra Ball, because now they'll be able to draw into some pretty cool stuff. If I'm curious as to what the Psychic is, it could be Hoopa. Actually, it's probably Hoopa, but okay, we do see that it is Trubbish. And that thing is terrifying because Garbodor will just completely shut down... Will completely shut down what I want to do. I mean, if I can't Kinesis, I lose a ton of my damage output. Like, if I can't Kinesis, I am just screwed, and, well, you know what? I'm okay with this. I am completely okay with this. I get a couple Alakazams, I get a Spirit Link, and as long as my opponent isn't able to get rid of the Shaymin... darn it. Well, I mean, I took that risk. Crap. Yeah, I took that risk by not taking the knockout on the Shaymin, so I just lose... I lose 2 prizes that were on the board. That was completely my fault. But it doesn't make it sting any less. You know what? I think the Trubbish is a big enough threat that I just need to take that thing out immediately. Because I can knock it out this turn. Get 30 damage and 30 damage from the 2 Kinesises, and then I will be able to knock it out with Hyperspace Hole. And I don't want my opponent getting a Garbodor setup at all. Because if he gets that setup, I lose my ability to Kinesis, and in combination with Devolution Spray, that's exactly what I need. Like, I need that combination right now. And ooh, draw into my other Magma Secret Base. That is great for me. I am going to go ahead and Hyperspace Punch, get damage on the Mega Pidgeot on the bench, and take out the Trubbish. My opponent's Pidgeot that is active is already in range of being knocked out by Zen Force. And even though he can just Mega Evolve it, well, that's just another Hyperspace Punch away. And he even has no energy on it. So I'm not overly worried at this point. What I think... So, and Pokemon Center Lady too. No! Oh, crap. So this is... Oh, my gosh. So, of course, when I'm playing Mega Alakazam, we run into a deck that is almost entirely... Like, it's entirely based around healing cards and healing little bits of damage, which is what my deck relies on. So, you know what? I'm calling Hex. I am calling Hex. My opponent knew what I was running before he even ran into me, so he's able to completely just counter deck me and all of that. And okay, for you guys taking me seriously, I'm kidding, I'm joking. Please do not think that I'm thinking that there's like a conspiracy theory with TCGO or something like that. I'm completely joking right now. I'm just trying to make light of a very interesting scenario that normally does not come about. Like, I have never run into this Pidgeot deck before, and I just find it really funny how as soon as I run my Mega Alakazam deck, I run into this style of Mega Pidgeot. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it, and I'm obviously going to keep playing as much as I can. But okay, I don't draw a Devolution Spray. A bit unfortunate, but I can just keep Hyperspace Punching. I mean, I'm getting more mileage out of Hoopa than I ever would have thought, and admittedly, with combination Fairy Drop, Pokemon Center Lady, it's not doing too much, but it's still, Hoopa is still pulling its weight, and that is all I can ask for at this point. I do have 2 Mega Alakazams powered up and ready to go, but I just want to get the damage out there so that I can start taking the knockouts like I want to. I mean, that's really what it just is going to come down to, is I need to take the knockouts that I want to. I need to take knockouts on the Shaymin, on the Pidgeot, stuff like that. And my opponent will finally be able to knock out my Hoopa. And, go... Stop it with the fairy drops, please. Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. So frustrating to say the least, but, I mean, you know what? That's Pokemon. And that's exactly what's going to happen when you run into some tournaments. Like, you'll go in with a top-tier deck, and all of a sudden, you just, like, you run into a complete counter deck out of nowhere that you're just like, wait, what am I supposed to do? I've never seen this deck before in my life. And would you look at that? My opponent Super Rods and is only able to Super Rod back into things, and I'm down to a deck of 5 cards. I just realized that. Well, this is going to be troublesome. This is a problem. This is a very large problem right now. I really need to start taking knockouts because I cannot... Sycamore, I really just have to start Lysandering things in and knocking them out as soon as possible. My opponent, unfortunately, will be able to get another Mega Pidgeot up, so I would not be able to Lysander that one in on the bench and take the knockout on it. So, unfortunate right there. But the Shaymin is there to as Lysander bait that I can take 2 prizes off of, and my opponent is just going to Mock Cyclone, knock out my Hoopa. That is fine with me. Well, I mean, it's fine with me as long as my opponent doesn't have some... If my opponent gets a couple more Lysanders, then we are in trouble. But otherwise, I think I'm okay. What I am going to do is... I think I just need to start preparing for an N. I think that's what I need to start doing, but what I am going to do is Lysander in... do I want to Lysander in the Pidgeot or the Shaymin? Because the Shaymin is a knockout, but the Pidgeot... You know what? I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I'm going to take the knockout when I have it, knock out the Shaymin, and then go from there. I'm keeping my Ultra Balls just in case I draw into something else, and I do get a Devolution Spray. That is excellent. That means I can start spreading a little more damage around with Kinesis and really just kind of keep my opponent from being able to... I mean, if my opponent draws Fairy Drops, there's nothing I can do, and another Sycamore. That's annoying. But my opponent decides not to counter my state... Oh, I guess that's smart of my opponent. He wants to keep the Shaymins out there as Lysandre targets to be knocked out by Mock Cyclone. So my opponent is playing this very, very smart. Granted, having a card that specifically not specifically counters. I mean, it's very obvious that my opponent's strategy is keep Mega Pidgeot alive and Mock Cyclone as much as possible. It just so happens that stupid Fairy Drop counters my strategy completely. And I'm using stupid because kind of like a you meddling kids and your dumb dog too type of way, not like a I'm trying to insult my opponent type of way. Just making sure that's clear. But what I can do is devolve my Mega Alakazam. That's a thing. I think, well, first I'm going to retreat. That way I have the single, retreat cost. Go ahead and Mega Turbo onto it. That way I have the energy back onto my Mega Alakazam for when I need it. One of my Alakazams is in the discard pile. That means I have one of them prized. What I think I'm going to do is, I think is it to Lysandre? I think at this, do I want to Hex Maniac? I could Hex Maniac. I could also Lysandre in my opponent's damage Pidgeot and start just getting more damage on that to be able to take, actually, the Mega Pidgeot or the Pidgeot? Because the Mega Pidgeot has free retreat. The Pidgeot does not. Yeah, I think my best play is to just get more and more damage on that Mega Pidgeot to where Fairy Drop and Pokemon Center Lady won't be enough to save it. And I can potentially knock it out with like Kinesis and Hyperspace Punch later. So that is definitely going to be my play. Well, actually, I can't technically Hyperspace Punch because all my Hoopas are dead. We do see the Shrine of Members. I apologize for the sniffling. I'm still not fully over the winter cold that I got. My opponent does play down another Pidgeot, so he can definitely retreat into his Mega Pidgeot. However, double Kinesis will be able to take it out. Hopefully they don't draw into... Okay, so they can't Pokemon Center Lady. Hopefully they don't draw into a Fairy Drop that just gets rid of all of the hard work that I put into this right now. But, oh, evidently they are just going to go ahead and... Are they just going to attack with this Mega Pidgeot? Because, interesting. So, it looks like my opponent's going to attack with this Mega Pidgeot, or he might just be powering it up for later. How many Devolution Sprays have I used? 2. I have 1 Devolution Spray left. And I have a 3-card deck. I want to save that VS Seeker for an end so I don't deck myself out. And I don't just kind of screw myself in the process and give myself no chance to win this game. My opponent is just going to go ahead and Mock Cyclone. Hit for 130 damage. Are they going to let me switch? No, I think that's a good play by my opponent, not letting me switch. What I am going to do is go ahead and... Do I want to Mega Evolve or do I want to Lysandre in something first? So I think... So let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, actually. Get rid of the Alakazam and the Hoopa. Thin those guys out. Okay, the Devolution Spray is left in my deck, and so is a Super Rod. So the question is, yes, I think I am just going to Shaymin, get my 3rd Shaymin on the board to be able to draw into that Devolution Spray. I think that is my play, and I do have the Super Rod, so I will not lose. Let's go ahead and put Hoopa and 2 energies back, or do I want 2 Hoopas and energy? A Hoopa and 2 energies back into the deck. Go ahead and VS Seeker for the Lysandre. I just have to go for game at this point. I have no other choice. I have to go for the game. And, I mean, I could technically Suppression. I could Evolve and then Suppression to knock out this Mega Pidgeot, but Suppression would not... It wouldn't do the type of damage that I'm hoping for. What I am going to do is... Well, I'm obviously going to Lysandre. I'm just not sure what I want to Lysandre in. So let's first go ahead and... How am I going to play this so that I can win? It's just really, really tricky because I need to get the right amount of damage. I think I honestly think the play... yeah. I think the play is save my Lysandre. The play is definitely save my Lysandre, get damage onto the Mega Pidgeot, and then take a suppression knockout onto this Pidgeot, and then my opponent's Mega Pidgeot will be in range of a Zen Force next turn, so that I will have a chance to win. So I think, yeah, that's definitely the play. I will be able to knock this guy out with a Zen Force next turn. Even if he Lysandres in my Mega Alakazam that's on the bench, I have plenty of outs like I have my Mega Alakazam that I can knock out my opponent's Pidgeot with. My opponent plays a DCE. And it's another Fairy Drop. No. Crap. Fairy Drop. Why? Why? I don't get it. Why must I face this deck when I'm running Mega Alakazam? No. I hate this. So, I think my opponent kind of has... I mean, I have no real way of doing damage anymore. I really don't. Because if my opponent knocks out this Alakazam, then I can no longer Kinesis for the damage that is necessary. Like, I will only be able to just attack, and my opponent... What's my opponent Lysandering? I think my opponent just threw the game. Yeah, my opponent... Oh, my opponent just threw the game. Yeah, because he's going to take the knockout on this Mega Alakazam and 10 short. 10 damage short on my Alakazam on the bench. That is amazing. I'm going to be able to pull this out because what I can do, at least what I think I can do, is I can first go ahead and Mega Evolve to get the Kinesis, get the damage onto that Mega Pidgeot, and then damage onto the Pidgeot on the bench. Because that 20 damage from earlier is going to come through, let me take the win with Zen Force. Oh, that was such a close game. I mean, admittedly, my opponent kind of counter-decked me, so, I mean, there's that. But that was a very close game. That was so ridiculously clutch. Yes, my opponent did choke at the end, but I don't think... Well, I guess he saw that I had VS Secret for a Lysandre, so I'm not sure what my opponent's thought process was in knocking out the Mega Alakazam. I think it was definitely a 100% better play to just knock out the Alakazam. That way there was no Kinesis potential. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.